Not every single game is always going to be the best thing that you've ever played, obviously. But some games don't just miss the mark, they're bad. I'm Falcon, and today on gameranx, here's 10 games that sucked in 2016. Number 10, Street Fighter V. Now, if you recall, I did a Before You Buy on Street Fighter V. I was disappointed with the amount of content, but the actual core mechanics itself I thought were very good. However, let's just go ahead and say this. If you make the best mechanics possible and make a game so that it has to be always online, and then your servers, you don't really worry about how well they work, it seems like. And it's basically an inconsistent garbage experience for nearly a year now. If that lack of content is not really augmented for free, instead, it's part of the business model. And let's not forget the lack of modes. Like, it's a shame because, like I said, the mechanics of this game are really good. Number 9, Ghostbusters. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say this right away. I actually like the new movie. So, please divorce this criticism from me disliking the movie, because I don't dislike the movie. However, this game is terrible. Like, what fan base is it appealing to? Because none of these characters were ever in Ghostbusters, other than Slimer, but who cares? He's in everything Ghostbusters. There's pretty much no story other than bust the ghosts. And I know they should have just used the mechanics that they had come up with from the previous, like, good Ghostbusters game, the one from the consoles in 2009. That was a great game. Like, that pretty much nailed what I want Ghostbusters to be in a video game, and they're just like, the next big console release we do, we're basically gonna make a kids game. And kids don't care. This isn't gonna be a game that kids love. It's too short, it's not interesting, and there's no reason to get invested. It sucks. Number 8, Bombshell, which is basically 3D Realms' first new game in over a decade, and I understand not having really done work with the times, maybe being out of practice, or whatever you really want to call it, but it's not an astounding game. It's kind of a really big ripoff of Diablo that feels kind of like it was meant to be Duke Nukem Diablo at some point, but got rebranded. Like, it's got decent graphics, runs well, like, I gotta give them that, it runs well, and the soundtrack's enjoyable too. But it's essentially a useless game. There's not very much soul in it. It doesn't really feel like there's a lot to be invested in. It's just kind of like, here's some goals, please meet them. And that just sucks. I'm sick of that. I'm tired of that type of a thing. I want to be invested in some way. Maybe that would have been fine in 1992, but it's not 1992. Number 7, Gemini Heroes Reborn isn't exactly the buggiest piece of crap mess that I've ever seen in my life, but it does seem pointless. And pointless is bad too. Like, pretty much all the work, I think, went into the graphics to this game, because they're great. I like the graphics a lot. Everything else, who cares? It's literally like, it might as well be a graphics demo. It's not a good game. It's not interesting. It gives you superpowers that are, almost interesting, but then, you use them 2 or 3 times and they stop being interesting. But, like, I liked it better when it was BioShock and Mirror's Edge. Like, either of those games, you get much more out of, and you don't get a bland game that takes like 4 or 5 hours to beat. I can't even remember. Like, there's no point in even thinking back to this for me. It's the most forgettable, crappy garbage game there is this year. I mean, there's worse ones. Remember The Order? Kind of the same problem. Number 6, Umbrella Corps. So this game is really just not good. It's really bad. And it's one of those games that I did have hope for, because it's something that sounds like, hey, that's kind of a fresh idea to do with the Resident Evil franchise, because although a million Gears of War type shooters have been made, we could have had something decent here. Like, we've certainly played enough of those type of games where the enemies are alien. I don't mind trying zombies if, they actually tried to make a decent game. They didn't. Like, it really seems like they did not even try. It's buggy as hell, just doesn't run right, doesn't do what it's supposed to do, barely has a story, if, you really consider that a story, and it does not control as though it has been extensively playtested, like every single game should be. Like, it really just came off as a cash-in when all said and done. hey, so I guess people like shooters, so we'll do one and say it's Resident Evil. We'll just basically skin like the most garbage, thrown together, slapdash, crappy Gears of War ripoff game and call it Umbrella Corp. Yay! Number 5, Homefront The Revolution. Oh, Homefront The Revolution. How I had hopes for you, because I love the world of Homefront. For whatever reason, it ticks a bunch of boxes for me, like in a weird way. It's not something that I wish I could actually live in, but for some reason, it's a cool fictional world for me. Alas, the gameplay of the original was not very good, so when the sequel was handed over to a new developer, I was like, yes, somebody will understand what they're doing here, because there was a lot of talk about how the developers really loved the property itself, but understood that the first was just not good enough. And apparently, they didn't understand what to do with it either. And again, this is like No Man's Sky. It's not the worst game I've ever played in my life. I'm not gonna flat out say that it's total garbage like Star Fox Zero or Mighty Number 9. I guess I put those games on the same level. But Homefront The Revolution is, again, one of those kind of, I gave you a chance and you fucked it up type of sucks. Because it does suck in that way. Like, I'm not really that jazzed about somebody else taking a swing at it. I mean, seriously, is it really that hard to make a World War III post-situation-y type game? Is it that hard? Because it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to me. Like, make a good game and write a decent story and just work on some sort of, like, characters. Like, these are not hard things. Like, first-person shooter mechanics are pretty refined at this point. You don't need to try to add things. You just need to worry about the world and the characters. And they didn't. It came off half-assed. Again, a second time. With a different developer. Like, it's so frustrating. Number 4, Star Fox Zero, and I make no apologies for this. Like, everything about Star Fox is, like, pretty much my favorite game. Like, Star Fox 64 is pretty much my favorite game. And the GameCube Star Fox games are even forgivable. Like, I don't think they're terrible. I don't particularly like the segments that aren't flying. But even Star Fox 64 has a Landmaster tank, and it was great. Like, there's something about the way that Star Fox handled on-rails levels that just worked. It was so fun. And Star Fox Zero it literally just took a big dump on that. In trying to shoehorn in the stupid controller, I think they spent all their time trying to make a game that worked around that mechanic, as opposed to making a good Star Fox game, and obviously we didn't get a good Star Fox game. We got this really bizarrely difficult to learn how to use flying game that really never feels natural. No matter what you do, there's no way for it to actually feel natural. It's dumb. Like, it's just dumb. It makes me sad to say, but I don't like it. Star Fox 64 is seriously one of my top 5 games of all time. And Star Fox Zero is literally just what it says it is. It's like if you took Star Fox 64 and subtracted 64 from it, you're left with Star Fox Zero. It's garbage. Number 3 is Mighty Number 9, which, holy shit, it's so bad. Like, I did a before you buy on this game, and I was pretty disappointed about it. There were things that I thought were good about it, but I don't know, over the course of less than a year, the game itself hasn't aged well. Like, when it's not even a year after the game comes out, and you're like, you know, looking back, this game sucked. Even if you kind of liked it a little bit when it first came out, and I kind of liked it a little bit. There's things about it that I still, in theory, like, but I just can't bring myself to give it another chance. It just got everything so wrong in different ways. Some of the level design was too simplistic. It ran like shit. Like, even on the PS4, where they were dealing with no deviance in hardware, it should have had some level of optimization. And if you want to talk about a game that's been soured, that game's been soured. I don't want to play another Mighty Number 9 title. Number 2, No Man's Sky. Okay, let's just get this right out of the way. This is not the worst game on the planet. In some respects, it's actually kind of good, and the update that it's gotten is really, I think, improved upon it. That being said, the expectations were not fulfilled with this game. When this game came out, this seemed like nothing but a cash grab, and as far as I'm concerned, that's what matters. Because if they make it into a great game, cool, I'll play it. But you know how when you dig yourself into a hole, it's kind of hard to get out? That's what No Man's Sky is. And the whole situation sucks. It's not the worst game ever, but on some level, it sucks. It's kind of tainted. And finally, number 1 is Alekhines Gun, which, okay, it's a stealth game set in the Cold War. In a lot of respects, it kind of seems like it could be a little bit like Hitman, but it's not. Like, at the core, it's basically Hitman, but like if you could imagine them really screwing Hitman up, like, and if you might go ahead and say any of the recent Hitman games are quote-unquote screwing up Hitman, but no, nothing on the level of this. This is so buggy, it's so easy. Well, at least it would be if it didn't crash all the time. But forget that stuff, it's also really, really bland. Like, there's almost nothing to the level design. And you know what really doesn't help? I know that it doesn't affect the gameplay in any way, but it just signifies the entire production for me. The voice acting. Oh, it's bad. Ugh. Couple of bonus games for you. First, any digital homicide game. Literally any of them. They tried to sue people for not liking their games. Fuck off. And then Bus Simulator 16, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it's, well, if you put it in a contention for good games, it's not going to get anywhere. It's bad. And Slain, which tries to combine heavy metal and Castlevania and, well, fails. What do you think? I want to talk to you about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like. It helps us a whole lot. And if you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so because we put up brand new videos every single day of the week. As always, we thank you very much for watching this one. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.